You're going to see an article in the Deseret News tomorrow, and Amy Joy Donaldson is writing that story. And it talks about the impact of some of the hateful speech that we have been hearing lately. And some are even going so far as to call it the Trump effect. And especially immigrants of color, facing a new level of verbal attacks and feeling a new level of fear. And what is that like? And we're going to be talking with our Brianna Bodley coming up in just a few moments here at KSL. We'll also be talking with Amy Joy. She will be joining us a little later on in the program, and we'll talk about the article that we're going to be seeing. But I so appreciate Shauna Farnsworth joining us, who is a foster mom to kids from Africa. And Shauna, what a pleasure to have you here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
And we also have Henata Ryan joining us. And thank you so much for being part of the show today.
Thank you.
First of all, let's just talk a little bit about your individual experiences. You as a foster mom, Shauna, let's talk with you first. First of all, describe your kids, who you've brought into your home, and give us a little of their background, and then we'll talk about the effect.
I have right now in my home 2 girls from West Africa. Also, I have one girl from, and I'll kill the name, Eritrea.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
She always corrects me, so good thing she's not here. She'll probably, you said it wrong. But, so I have those 3. However, I started with 5 siblings. I have 2 of them left. I had 3 other ones that have aged out of the program and are in their own homes and doing quite well in the society. So I've had 6 refugee children living with me at one time.
Right. And what are their backgrounds? Where are they from?
Like I said, the 5 are from. They came over from the from the refugee camp of Sierra Leone. However, they were Liberian refugees, and then one that came Eritrean, and she came from the Ethiopian refugee camp.
I see. What has it been like for these kids that you have brought into your home?
Oh, it's been, I would say, a culture shock for them. The first 5 came over thinking that that we would have streets paved of gold and money on our trees to just pick as we wanted, and we're a little disappointed they didn't get that. But it just shows you that the countries that they come from have such great admiration for the United States, that they want to be in the United States, because they don't know they're going to come to the United States until they actually get on the plane.
Wow.
So it's like, oh, we got the luck of the pick, we're not going to Europe, we're not going to Canada, we're going to the great United States. And so that is quite, when I think of it, I didn't even think of it until I realized how much they absolutely were just so grateful that this was where they came. Of all the places they could have went, it was the United States.
Interesting. And let's talk with you for just a moment. You're from Brazil originally, now a naturalized citizen of the United States. And give us some background on you. How did you end up being in this country?
Well, I think also it was for me like I really wanted to learn English, right? English is the language if you want to do anything with your life in a more educated level.
Did I hear that you were into engineering?
Yes.
Wow.
So I am a telecommunications technician, and I was in telecommunications engineering, and I worked as an engineer, an intern engineer after 6 years of working as a telecommunications technician back home. I was working for American companies back home, and I could do the whole system, and people were very many times we had Americans come and try to talk to me. I'm like, I don't speak English. And they're like, she's reading and program things in English. And like, I know the program.
Yeah.
I know to type the words. That's it. So, but I knew that if I wanted to become a better engineer, if I want to have a better opportunity in my field back in Brazil, I had to learn English. I had opportunities to come to Park City, and that's how it always started. And 6 months became 13 years now.
Interesting. 13 years. So did you come here as a student on a visa?
I came here in a visa, not as a student, but I work at, I came, then I studied, and I was working as housekeeper and nanny and things like that. So,
and learning to speak English the whole time?
Learning to speak English,
Right.
trying. Many times I thought I wouldn't ever
Yeah.
be able to.
Well, you're doing great today. You're
Thank
doing great
you.
today. And we're going to take a brief break. And when we come back, I'd like to hear from both of you, especially over the last year or so, as some of the political rhetoric has reached white hot and just a fever pitch, how it's affecting your kids, Shauna, and Renata, how is it affecting you as someone who speaks with a beautiful accent,
Thank you.
someone who is from Brazil? So we'll do all of that when we come back. And a reminder that we'll also be talking with our Brianna Bodley coming up. We'll be talking with Aidan Batar, who is the director of the Refugee Resettlement for the Catholic Community Services, and Amy Donaldson. I think I said Amy Joy earlier. Amy Donaldson will be joining us along with our Brianna Bodley, all here on the Doug Wright Show at KSL News Radio. Let's go ahead and take just a brief break, and we'll come right back, and we'll talk about this political climate and how it's affecting some of our immigrants in this country and people who come from foreign lands.
Doug Wright. Interrupting everything to cover breaking news. You'll hear it first on KSL News Radio.
A little later on in our program, we're going to be joined by Brianna Bodley. We'll also be joined by Amy Donaldson. There will be a piece in tomorrow's Deseret News that will focus on what we are now focused on here at KSL. That was the impetus for this segment today. We'll also be talking with the director of the Refugee Settlement for Catholic Community Services, Aidan Batar, will be here. But we are delighted right now to have the opportunity to talk with Shauna Farnsworth, a foster mom to kids from Africa primarily, and also Renata Ryan, who is an immigrant from Brazil, now naturalized citizen of the United States. We're having this conversation off the air. The effect or the affect of what is happening right now with the conversation, with the temperament that we're seeing unfold within our political climate. And maybe, Renata, I could ask you first, as someone who you sport a wonderful accent, as I mentioned, from Brazil, and an immigrant to this country, what are you experiencing right now, and how have things changed?
Well, I feel like now people talk about immigrants to me in search with so much anger in their voice. And they tell me like how they are against illegal immigrants, how they are sick of paying taxes for the illegal immigrants. I believe they are talking about just the illegal immigrants. Oh. Or how the immigrants are a weight for the society. And so, yeah, because you can see right away I am not born in United States. I'm not Caucasian, and I do have an accent. And it's quite surprising to me, the angry, that these people who actually many times I hear from people who I love and love me back, and who I am very close to them and part of their lives. And I don't think they realize how much they are hurting me and the ones I love who are immigrants. And I really think that the problem I'm feeling now, and I am feeling through these people who knows me, and I am, like I said, naturalized and citizen of the United States now, And immediately I feel for the ones who haven't had the opportunity that I have had now, how much harsh and harder are people being on them, forgetting that we are people. We have a story. We have feelings. And honestly, I don't think people realize that immigrants, legal or unfortunately illegal here in the United States, we are not just that weight to the economy of the United States. We are people who come here very grateful for being in the United States, with a heart full of joy, full of dreams of being part of America and of helping and continues to have a great America and make even stronger America with diversity, and willing to work very, very hard, willing to deal with unacceptance, dealing with discrimination, and depending on where you're from, because I honestly don't think Europeans, immigrants feel as hard as the heat as hard as we as color South Americans and Central Americans feel.
What have you experienced? I've been told by some who have been working with you that you've been the recipient of some insults and some misperceptions.
Oh, I have. I have had people when, before I was married to an American, when I was working in gas station or depending on the jobs I had, you really feel it more. I have had people come and saying, get back to Mexico. You don't even speak English. I'm sick of these immigrants in here who don't speak English, and I'm sick of you guys. Just go back to your country. And that person, that male, it was like at midnight, I'm working by myself in a gas station, insulted me so hardly. I did not have at that point enough English to defend myself, and I wouldn't, to be honest to you, because as an immigrant, you are taught right away to stay out of trouble, to not confront Americans. And it was very frightening for me to receive such a powerful, things like that. Or I had, if you're working to somebody, sometimes they tell you, I'm not going to pay you. I have a friend in the immigration, or I'm going to call the immigration. And that happens so often here in Salt Lake City, in Park City. People don't have an idea of how often people still work without being paid and being threatening. If you say something or if you bother them, that they will call the immigration and deport you.
Hearing stories like that just upset me. And I had a friend who used to be somewhat put off when he would go through a drive-thru or whatever, and somebody would have an accent or a thick accent. And I remember thinking, they can speak 2 languages. I can only speak 1. I wish I was bilingual. I wish, and I ought to stop wishing and actually do it. But it dawned on me. I mean, for heaven's sake, it might be occasionally, maybe you might miss a word or something. But for heaven's sake, this person is working hard. They can speak 2 languages. I can only speak 1. My goodness. How about for you, Shauna? What are your kids seeing, those foster kids that come into and through your home?
Well, the biggest thing that we're dealing with right now, and we watched the debate, and when they heard that they wanted to deport refugees, my kids just panicked. They're going to make us leave. They're going to make us leave, and that was really tough because I tried to explain to them, that you're here legally, you're on the refugee program, but they keep on worrying if Donald Trump makes president, they're going to be sent packing. Well, so that's what we're dealing with right now in our personal home.
Yeah. I've heard the term the Trump effect. Is that a fair statement? Do you feel like the campaign that we are now going through, and especially the rhetoric from Donald Trump, is causing to these troubles, even to the point of persecution? Renata?
Yes, I do. And I feel very unfortunate because I really think this campaign is misleading people, is misguiding people. They are dehumanizing the immigrants and the refugees and the minority. And for me, it's a very great concern because his campaign is based on telling people that immigrants and refugees are threatening to United States, to the American citizens. And when his son compared refugees with poison mosquitoes, I'm sorry, I know it's long ago, but it's still in my mind nowadays because for me, it's dehumanization, what is a very dangerous step for genocide, for persecution. And I think they are making people forget that we are human beings. We are people. We are not that. We are not all criminals. We are not all bad people. We are not all threat to United States. Most of us comes here with a grateful heart, willing to be part of this country and to do the best for this country.
Let's take a brief break, and Shauna, I'll ask you that too when I come back. How much of the quote-unquote Trump effect, and I'm hearing that term more and more lately, that your kids are experiencing. It is 11:31 here at KSL News Radio. When we come back, we'll also be talking with others. We'll talk with Amy Donaldson, whose article will appear tomorrow in the Deseret News, Brianna Bodley, who has been covering this story for us here at KSL. We'll also talk with the Director of Refugee Resettlement for Catholic Community Services.
The Doug Wright Show, where Utah news breaks on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Still to come on the program, we're going to be talking momentarily with Aidan Batar, who is the Director of the Refugee Resettlement for Catholic Community Services, and our Brianna Bodley, along with Amy Donaldson, will be joining us here at KSL. But in the moments we have left with Shauna Farnsworth, who is a foster mom to kids from Africa, and Renata Ryan, who is an immigrant from Brazil. Just a couple of final quick questions. I was asking Renata just a moment ago, Shauna, about the Trump effect. This is part of our lexicon now that we're beginning to hear. The rhetoric that we hear during the campaign in general, but especially from Mr. Trump himself. Do your kids talk about that? Are they feeling the quote-unquote Trump effect?
They do talk to me about things that are going on. They've been here 7 years, and now all of a sudden they're having people come up and want to know what's it like to be a refugee, what went on. Of course, that's their story. And I tell them that it's their story to tell or not to tell. And they also are asked, what's it like to be black? Well, they want to know why they have to be any different than a white person or anybody else of a different color. Why is it different to be black than it is to be any other color? But these are all new questions. They weren't before. And I don't know if it's just the people stirring up, a lot of emotions about the different cultures that are here, or if it's, just the curiosity of teenagers.
Right. Have your kids been the recipient of anything that is above and beyond just curiosity?
Their biggest thing is when we go shopping, that we get followed. They absolutely hate that we always have someone follow us through the store.
So the assumption is they're a greater risk in the store? Is that what I'm interpreting?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. Your kids are a little older, 17 plus, that are in your home. And have any of them from their schoolmates, have they received any of the quote-unquote Trump effect?
I guess the only thing would be, like I said, they're starting to ask them more questions about being of color, of being, a refugee. Had a hard time getting friends when they first got here. I'm sure it's just the unknown, which is what scares a lot of people, and that's why we're here, is to get to know people of different nationalities, and diversity is how we're going to become good friends and good neighbors.
Renata, you were mentioning to me off the air, I hope this is okay to bring this up, but people that you know are having all of a sudden many more questions being asked of them. And, well, this has nothing to do with Mr. Trump, but how did you get here? And things like that. How common is that?
That didn't used to be common before. I don't know if people felt that was not politically correct to ask these kind of questions, and now it's like, no, I have the right of knowing what is your deal with the United States? That's how I feel. People want to know, how did we get here? Because I think they feel like that they are going to be judging if they are okay or not with you being here. Instead, and it's coming very often, and I know many wonderful people, and all my friends are feeling this heat, and they are more and more afraid of the Americans, the Caucasians, and the Republicans in general. What I feel very sad, because I am in a family of wonderful people, Caucasian. My husband is Caucasian. Right. But I think that what we're trying to do here, like Shauna said, is getting to know people and ask them to please get to know us, get to know the person who you're talking to, get to know your neighbor, the person who is serving you, the person who is your colleague or studies with you, the person who is part of your life directly or indirectly. Get to know their heart and their mind before you try to judge them if it is okay for them to be, if you're okay with their presence in your country or not. Get to know if they are being a good for your community or bad for your community before you decide if they should be here or not.
Shauna and Renata, thank you so much. I so appreciate you sharing your insights and your story with us. I wish you the very best.
Thank you for letting us be here to do this.
Oh,
we appreciate it.
It's our pleasure.